Fellow Canadians, was our election cheated? How did the Conservatives win 54.2% of the seats with only 39.6% of the popular vote? It is possible that the Conservative electorate cheated the May 2nd Canadian federal election, and the following is how it could have easily been achieved with Votemoving. What is Votemoving? For an example, we will move to the city of Winnipeg in the riding of Elmwood-Strathcona. There was a close race with only 284 vote difference. The two ridings adjacent were Conservative blowouts, resulting in an excess of 17,000 voters. Excess voters from those ridings could have easily voted in Elmwood-Strathcona. This could potentially result in that riding being stolen. Likewise, in the riding of Winnipeg South Centre, a small margin of only 684 votes separated the top two candidates. These votes could have come from the 29,000 extra voters located in the nearest ridings. How many votes are needed to steal a seat? Well, it depends on how close the race is. Let's take a look at how close the races were across Canada. As we look at the closeness of the ridings across Canada, bear in mind that over 14 million Canadians cast their ballot. In the riding of Yukon, 132 was the difference. In the Snep-Churchill River, 789. In Saskatoon-Rosetown-Biggar, 538. In Palliser, the difference was 776. In Nipissing-Temiskaming, the difference was 17. In the riding of Montgomery-Rivière-du-Loup, the difference was 110. In the riding of L'Obnataire-Chute de la Chaudière, 777. In Labrador, 231. The trend continues all across Canada. How many seats do you need to steal the election? The difference between the Conservatives winning a minority and majority government was 4,635 votes across 13 ridings. Now let's move to the heavily populated GTA, where some of the tightest races were found, and look at the criteria that need to be met in order for Votemoving to occur. In order to achieve Votemoving, all of the following criteria and conditions must be fulfilled. Weakness in the electoral system, potential active participants, financial and technological means, accurate polling, ridings with lopsided races close to ridings with tight races, and a form of media to direct the vote movers to the tight-raced ridings. Ability increases when you couple this with ripe conditions such as many voters in small geographical areas, a natural transient population, and an ideal election date. Now we are going to demonstrate how each and every one of those conditions were met in this election. Here are just some of the ridings in Toronto that were extremely close. Bramalea-Gore-Malton, 538 votes. In the riding of Mississauga East Cooksville, there was a difference of 661 votes. In the riding of Etobicoke Centre, there was a difference of 26 votes. That's correct, a mere 26 votes. Now we go to the riding of Don Valley West, where the difference in votes was 639. To the riding of Don Valley East, where the difference in votes was 869. And north to the riding of Willowdale, there was a difference of 961 votes. The greatest potential success to Votemove occurs in large cities and metropolitan areas, due to the extremely large amount of people that move from one riding to another in a normal, natural basis. In larger cities, it is possible for vote movers to go undetected. Further aiding the vote move potential was the selected date of our election. The second day of the month is an optimal day for vote moving to occur, because it is the day after anyone renting an apartment or a house would normally take legal possession. Now we will demonstrate how the lopsided races were beside the closely tight races. Here we can see a map of the area with all the extra voters that could have easily been pooled from any of the ridings that were close within an hour's drive. Anytime there is a lopsided race, this allows extra voters to be taken from the lopsided riding and placed into the close race riding. It is important to note that voters can be pooled from other ridings where there is a huge surplus, but you can also take voters from riding where it was expected that the Conservative candidate would be heavily defeated. This map shows the riding where Conservative voters could have come from in the area where other parties won that riding. This map shows where the close ridings were in proximity to the ridings where votes could have come from. Some of the requirements needed by a voter to prove an address of residence were weak at best, and no digital images or photocopies of any documents were recorded by Elections Canada, hampering their ability to verify voters' honesty at a later date. A hand-produced document and any photo ID would have been sufficient to Votemove. But many wealthy Canadians do not need to falsify documents to Votemove. If a person owns multiple houses or commercial buildings, as many wealthy Canadians do, a utility bill from a second property could allow one to vote out of the riding they reside in, and add votes in dead heat ridings, of course at the expense of Canada's freedom and democracy. Although the political parties stand to gain the most, there are many groups that stand to gain considerably with the Conservative majority government, including banks, oil companies, religious groups, lawyers, and jail builders, each and all having the financial and intellectual capacity to effectively Votemove. Coincidentally, the accepted proofs of address included a bank statement, a credit card statement, a utility bill, an employee card, or a residential lease agreement. The science of polling is so accurate that polling institutions can project who is going to win the riding, which ridings will be dead heats, and what the expected voter turnout will be. Votemoving also explains many of the anomalies in the selection, including how a 2% increase in the vote translated into a 16.7% increase in seats. It would also explain the overwhelming amount of dead heat races in metropolitan and heavy populated areas. Votemoving explains how market research companies' scientifically correct polls were strangely incorrect, as they had predicted a conservative minority government. If you think that it would be impossible to achieve this, ask yourself, if people in a country in the Middle East with little or no technology, hampered by restricted internet access, managed to organize 2 million protesters in a weekend, couldn't a special interest group have had achieved this over the last 3 years? If two regular Joes sitting on the sofa watching the playoffs and elections can figure out how our democracy may have been exploited, there is no doubt that billion-dollar corporations with think tanks full of real brains could have also thought about, planned, and executed Votemoving. As Canadians, we must now stand up and demand the head of Elections Canada move quickly to order a full investigation to determine to what extent, if any, that Votemoving occurred. Swift, decisive actions must be taken to ensure anyone who engaged in this activity are sent to jail, and the correct MP sits in the House. If this transpired, guilty parties must be punished and by-elections be called to ensure a fair and democratic election. Now is the time for Elections Canada to accept responsibility and ensure at all costs that Canadians received a freely democratic election. It is important to note that if Votemoving did transpire, it is very possible to catch and punish these fraudulent voters to the full extent of the law. Thank you.